I spoke to a woman who deals with situations like mine, suggested that I find a husband to claim the child since its father will not. Matthew opened his mouth to reply, but she hushed him before going on. But I have no enticements that might compensate for bringing a bastard into a marriage, and I can think of no man who would take on such a thing. I would. The words were out of his mouth before he had a moment to consider, but he meant them wholeheartedly. He would take a dozen bastard children for Elizabeth's sake if that was what she wanted. What man who truly loved a woman seeing her in need would not do likewise? Elizabeth wrinkled her nose and swatted him lightly. Don't talk nonsense, she said, her voice pitched to an approximation of his. Besides, you have your wealthy bride to think of. Surely you wouldn't wish to disappoint her. It's not nonsense, he said. I would gladly marry you, wealthy bride or no. The marriages of kings and queens may be made for profit, but we are none of them, and we needn't wed for any purpose other than our own happiness. Elizabeth sighed, sitting up and sliding out of his arms as she wiped her face with her sleeve. I cannot imagine it would make you happy, she said, to take on a wife who simply chose you out of the need to conceal her own shame. Truly, Matthew, don't jest, not about this. I have little time to consider what I must do, and I can't bear to laugh about it. I don't ask you to, he insisted. Must you believe that I'm insincere in what I say? Any man would be lucky to have you for a wife, myself included, child or no child. She was silent for a long moment. Matthew wanted to pull her into his embrace again, but he knew without asking that it wouldn't be welcome. He wished he could convince her somehow that her low estimation of her worth was horribly wrong, that whatever she had convinced herself, or more likely what her mother had convinced her of, she had more value than as her family's workhorse, but none of his words ever seemed to make the slightest difference. When she spoke again, her voice was low and serious. Are you in earnest? I do not know what else I might say to convince you. Matthew rather felt the control of the conversation was sliding away from him, but he wasn't quite sure how. I know of no man who would not want such a view as a wife, and if he did, then I would call him a fool. No, She huffed a laugh, dropping her head into her hands. You don't understand me. I mean, she turned to look him full in the face, her eyes wide and dark and serious. Are you in earnest?